Welcome to Ask a Lawyer with the attorneys at Hepworth Holzer, life-changing law in Boise, Idaho. Today, it's John Edwards. John Edwards has worked in personal injury litigation for 25 plus years, first representing insurers in injury claims, then representing injured citizens. John answers your questions about the law and how it affects you.
John, what should I do after being injured in a car accident?
Steve, that's a good question, one I get asked all the time. The first thing that you need to do is, call the police, report the accident, and get them out there to investigate. Also, determine whether or not anyone needs any medical care. Please always understand that unless you're a trained medical technician, don't move people, don't provide care that might further their injuries. Once everyone's safe and the police have been called, it's always a good idea to exchange contact information and insurance information with the other folks. With everyone having cell phones nowadays, a good thing to do is just take a picture of their driver's license and a picture of their insurance information. You want to take pictures of the scene of the accident because, believe it or not, the other side's story sometimes changes once the police get involved or once their insurance company gets involved. And those pictures are very helpful to show the location of the vehicles, the scene, and kind of the surroundings from the scene. It's also important that if you're injured, let the paramedics know. They'll make the decision of whether or not you need a transport to the hospital. And even if they decide that you're not transportable, it's always a good idea to go and see your doctor after a collision, whether that be the emergency room or a doc in the box or your personal physician. It's good to get checked out. People all the time are so filled with adrenaline that they don't really realize that they're hurt until after everything calms down. So go and get checked out. I think another thing that's very important is we all want to know the answer to questions, but people, when they're talking with the police or the other party after an accident, should only say the things that they are certain happened, not what they surmise might have happened. People will take a guess at what happened, and sometimes that guess is wrong and becomes a problem in their case later on. If your vehicle's being towed, you definitely should find out where it's being towed to. Then, and only then, is a good time to take a moment, call your own insurance company, report the collision, and call the other party's insurance company and report the event. When you're talking to the other side's insurance company, only talk to them about the facts of the collision, not about your injuries, but about the liability side of the claim, what happened and why it is the fault of whoever it is the fault of. And really, that kind of gets you started. Then once the dust settles and you find out whether it's the other side's fault and whether you're injured, is a good time to talk to someone like me who does this work, and we can guide you on whether or not you're going to need help or how to handle it on your own.
So what happens if the person that hit me doesn't have insurance? What do I do in that instance?
Well, that can be a terrible thing if you don't have appropriate coverage on your car. Everyone out there who should have a coverage called uninsured motorist coverage and a coverage called underinsured motorist coverage. Those are coverages that you buy that protect the people in your car. And as you can imagine, the people in your car are always the people that you care most about, your family and your friends. Those coverages provide that if the other side is uncovered, that your coverage will step in and pay the damages that they would have had to pay. They also, the UIM, or the underinsured coverage, provides if the other side has just a little tiny policy, your policy will come in and cover over the top of that, so that you'll be fully insured, because what you really want to do is protect you and your family when you're buying your insurance.
Okay, now let's say I'm partially at fault for the accidents. Can I still get my medical bills paid?
Well, let's start with partially at fault. The question, Steve, is who's made that determination? I think that's something that you need to talk to an attorney about before you make any admission of any fault. What may seem like to you creates some fault for you may not. So I would not admit any fault until you've talked to a lawyer. The second part of that is if you have a coverage on your insurance called medical payments coverage, it will pay the medical expenses of the people in your car, whether it's your fault or someone else's fault. That's a good coverage to maintain, and everyone should maintain it. Now, if the people who ride in your car are usually your family members, and your family members are insured under a health insurance program, and you know that, then you don't need to carry a great deal of MedPay, medical payments coverage. You can carry, 1, 2, or 5,000. If the people in your family typically are not insured, for instance, you self-insure for a large portion of your health insurance, or you simply do not have health insurance, you might want to carry a bigger medical payments policy that will pay for the medical treatment for the people in your car without regard to fault.
Thanks for listening to Ask a Lawyer with the attorneys at Hepworth Holzer, life-changing law in Boise, Idaho. Join us next time as they answer your questions about the law and how it affects you. They can be reached at 208-343-7510 or hepworthholzer.com.